One of the first questions that I always get is, I'll get a phone call. Hey, Darren, I want to go look at this home. Great. Have you talked to a lender? And sometimes people will feel like, well, why are you pushing me into that so quickly?
Yeah.
Why is it so important to speak to a lender first before even looking at a home?
Great question. So unless you're a cash buyer, then yes, you should talk to the person that's going to lend you the money to purchase the home. So you don't want to put the carriage before the horse. I guess that's the saying, right?
Right.
So you want to make sure that what you qualify for first, and then go look for a home that you don't want to go look for. I think I can afford 300, and you might find a perfect home, your dream home at 400,000, and you couldn't qualify for that, and you didn't know, right? So make sure you go in there and you find out what you can afford. And what can you qualify for, and what's comfortable for you, and stuff like that. A lot of times as a loan officer, we're providing an opinion on what someone qualifies for, but realistically, the underwriter is the person behind the scene, the human beings that actually making the decision for your client to actually what they qualify for. I'm like a nurse. I provide certain vital checks and items and stuff, and then I send you to the doctor, which is the underwriter. So that's the most important person. So get a full underwriter's approval before you go look for a home, because you don't want to think that you qualify for something and take someone's opinion on what you qualify for and go make a deposit and then don't qualify for it.
So whenever we submit an offer, we often hear, oh, I need to get a pre-qual. There's a pre-qual, and then there is what you're talking about. What is the difference between a pre-qual and what you're talking about, which is underwriter approval?
Sure. Pre-qual, pre-approval, and then there's DU or desktop underwriting, which is a lot of time the mentality of that's set in stone. If there's a DU, which comes from the system, then the client is actually qualified. Most listing agents will take that as gold. Buyer's agent will take that as gold. Even the buyer will say, well, my loan officer gave me a DU approval, which means I'm approved by an underwriter, which is somewhat true, but not the actual physical underwriter. The actual human being still has to review the information that's given to them, the documents. So in the beginning, we will gather facts and documentations. We will review it. The pre-approval is basically a loan officer is reviewing your income, reviewing your assets, running your credit, doing all these things. Go, you know what? I think as a loan officer, from my professional review and experience of calculating income and assets and guideline reading, you are approved for this. And then we give you a sheet of paper, right? Then you take that sheet of paper, you give it to you, right, to go look for a house, and you give it to the listing agent. The listing agent goes, well, here's a pre-approval letter or a pre-qual letter. The lender says you qualify for this. We're going to accept your offer based on that opinion, right? And then you get into contract, you make a deposit, whatever the percentage of deposit into your escrow, and then at that time they take all the information and then they submit it to the underwriter, which is the one that's going to review all that information to make sure that...
This is with the other companies.
Yeah, there are a few companies. We'll get to that. What we do that's different, which is that then we'll send it to the underwriter, and the underwriter goes, well, Kui, you, as great as you are, as experienced as you are, you've done a lot of loans, you kind of went aggressive on this income. You overlooked this, you saw this, and you said, so the desktop underwriting, which a lot of people think that is gold, it's really what the system, we take all the information, we plug into the system, and we hit the decision engine, and the decision engine will say, well, from all the facts that you've given me in the system, we will approve this loan. And then that still has to go to the underwriter. Right. So a lot of times it's very hard to convey that message to a lot of agents, because it's just a very kind of hard. Not saying that they don't. It's kind of hard to understand. Well, isn't this an approval? No, this is just an opinion of what you qualify for until it goes to underwriting. So that's what we do. That's different. We send the file to the underwriter first, and then you go shopping for a house. So you actually have what you call a commitment letter, a full-blown underwriter's approval. A lot of times we will say, I underwrote the file. As a loan officer, I underwrote the file. We don't have authority to approve the loan. We underwrote it on our opinion, on how we understand guidelines and how we understand income. But the underwriter is the one that has the interest to protect the lender, to make sure it's a solid loan that fits all the guidelines on the secondary market. So that's what we do.
If I'm a seller and I have two offers in front of me, one is a pre-approval and I have one from you that's been approved. They could be the same across the board.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, pre-approval, not too sure. Movement just told me that they are approved. The money's already in hand for the most part.
Yes.
What am I going to take as a seller?
It's up to the seller, right? So it's more comfortable if they choose
Because
that.
this has already been said. Yes, they have the money. This is, hey, you might have the money.
Yeah, you might have the money. We have your information. A loan
You might be
officer.
pregnant.
Yeah,
We took the test.
Yeah,
You're
right.
pregnant.
You are pregnant.
Okay.
Right there. Yeah. So